let's dive right in. We've had, I am going to butcher their name, but Ottoa Tacona in Australia. Let's see how they pronounce that. Ottoa, you're live with Eric and V.
In 2 seconds.
Oh.
Sorry.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. How do you pronounce your name?
Ottoa.
Ottoa. Okay.
So it's like Ottawa, but without the W.
Sounds good.
Hey, thank you for calling in. So it says that you want to explore ideas and misconceptions regarding Otherkin / therian identities. What is that?
So Otherkin is basically when you identify as or with a being that is not like of this current world. So like if you identified as a saber-toothed tiger or a dragon, then you would be Otherkin. But if you identified as like a wolf, you would be therian. And I do, as far as I understand, there is a kind of a disconnect between the two communities. So
just to be clear, is this, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but is this like a LARPing thing? Is this like a kink thing? Like, how does this community interact? Is this, are there people who actually think that they're dragons, or is this more of like just
it's less of like what I am, and like for me personally, it's more like who I am. You know?
So is it like a fursona?
I mean, I am a furry, so yeah.
Okay.
Little, but it kind of goes deeper because I mean, I have my own like senses of like euphoria, like times it makes me feel good, and then there's times where like I feel like I don't like really belong in like how I feel like I should be a different way in that kind of sense.
I guess the first thing that I want to do jumping in here is start with an affirmation. I think you should be you. And the of it is one of exploring and not only finding new ways to love yourself, but finding communities where you feel acceptance and where you feel like you are getting to get those benefits of being in a community. And I fully endorse and support people doing that. I guess the skeptic piece of me, though, has a couple of questions. So the first is, do you see yourself or other people like that as somehow magical or having powers or things like that would kind of set my skeptic spidey senses off?
No. And from what I've understand and from what I've read, it's only about 30% of people who do.
Okay. Oh man, those 30% are pretty loud because I feel like I hear about them more than I do the not them, the 70%.
Yeah.
The silent majority.
Oh God.
Couldn't help it. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I guess in this case that may be true. Okay. So, I know that you are not representative of an entire group, and I don't want people to take you necessarily as a representative of a group, but are there any misconceptions that you want to clear up? Because it sounds like you've got the soapbox right now. What do you want to address?
I mean, well, I think the first thing I wanted to address that it isn't an entirely spiritual belief. So, okay. I mean, we got that down, and I've also like heard discussions about like why it isn't valid, because I've heard a lot of people saying, or I've expressed feelings that people who do identify as such a way are kind of appropriating.
What are they appropriating?
Hello?
Hello?
Looks like you may have cut out.
Oh, no. Well, I hope they call back in. It's definitely, they called in a few times and have dropped a few times.
Connection.
Yeah, so we will hope that they call back in. I guess I do kind of want to make a couple of points there. You know, they talked about gatekeeping. And I feel like if it's a purely fantasy thing that's going on, why are people gatekeeping each other in and out of it? That seems really...
Have you met the fantasy community?
Well, I get I see the toxicity, but like, why are people invalid? Like, it kind of blows my mind.
Well, I can speak to this.
Hit, please.
So this is a very common thing that happens in marginalized groups in general, where the more quote unquote normal groups are very hesitant to, or like, you know, conventionally like could be folded into current society without causing too many disruptions, are very hesitant to embrace or acknowledge groups that don't have that same level of conventionality or ability to become conventional, because they see it as a way of invalidating them. So, for example, during the gay rights movement, it was started primarily by drag queens and queer people and trans people, and they very quickly got moved out of the spotlight. And the people who ended up benefiting from that the most were white, cis, gay, and lesbian people. And the reasoning behind that was, it's easier for people to ignore us and to not have to change their lives or their conceptions too much. We're not asking too much. And so we're going to put on the back burner everybody else. So a lot of people who are in the trans community and the non-binary community are suspicious of people who want to say, I identify as Otherkin, because it's the same process of, well, that seems even weirder than us, and we're trying really hard to seem not weird, so we're going to distance ourselves from you or say that you aren't real, when in fact, to my best understanding, the way that they are using the term identify is completely different. And it's just the fuzziness of the word that is being shared that makes that connection at all. So
that gives me so many questions.
Yeah,
many questions.
It's a very big topic.
Yeah, it really does, because I don't know. I guess when we're specifically talking about social constructs, which all of these would fit under that umbrella, is it only limited to the imagination and creativity of the people who are being willing to, or who are wanting to engage in those social constructs? Like it doesn't, I don't know.
Everything
just,
is.
Okay, then if that's the case, then yeah, no, I don't know. It kind of, you know what it kind of picks at, and I probably shouldn't say this on air just because.
Oh goodness, where are we going with this?
Here's the point where somebody gets really mad at Eric and blows him up on Twitter.
Oh no, the thing you are never on.
Exactly. Is the whole what are they called? The people who say, oh, you know, I feel emotions, but I feel emotions so much more than
a highly sensitive person.
Highly sensitive. And when that was explained to me, it did feel very invalidating, because it felt like there was an assumption made about my ability to feel feelings. And the idea that, oh, you just need special care given to you because you feel them more than me, is an assumption about a subjective experience that you have no way of knowing. You know, it appears to me that somebody who would say that would only say that based on their observation that I'm able to, like, that I've practiced my entire life to have a handle on my feelings and not fly off the handle. It feels like invalidating me based on the work I've spent a lifetime building. And so in that way, I can imagine, you know, that invalidation feeling. And I wonder where those cross.
Well, I think that is a very different area, just because the way that you would get a therapist to tell you that you might be an HSP is by taking surveys that are personal to you about how you feel, and then they compare your average based on the average. So it's not saying I feel more things than you do. It's,
well, that's the way it was explained to me by an HSP.
Oh, as we will see for all of these issues, the language that we use to describe that and the like defensiveness that inevitably comes up when you are trying to explain something that you know the other person is like waving all the red flags on, you know, the other side of the conversation table, like justified or otherwise, it really does become a communication thing. But yeah, point taken there.
Fair enough.
I don't know if there is a survey that a therapist could give somebody to determine if they were otherkin, is what I'm saying. I don't think they're necessarily comparable in that way. But we do have some other calls.
We do. We're going to get way off the rails if we don't.
We could just have that conversation, but that's not what you guys are here for.
Could you just imagine us getting blown up by the HSP community?
Is there a HSP community? I don't know. Is there? Are you part of it?
If you are, give us a call.
Just don't tell me that you have mirror neurons that allow you to read your neighbor's thoughts.
Please tell me that you have mirror neurons that allow you to read your neighbor's thoughts. I need that in my life. I need that. You guys, I need that. I think the difference there is at least, people like Ottoa know that they're engaging in a fantasy.
Well, I mean, we want to make sure that we're not putting words in their mouth, but we will have them either call in next week or hopefully be able to continue that.
Fair enough.